You're listening to The Dealmaker's Edge with Aaron Strauss, diving deep into stories behind commercial real estate leaders. Well, today on the podcast, I'm joined by Chris Palermo. He's the co-chairman and founder, managing principal, First National Realty Partners, one of the nation's leading commercial real estate private equity firms, deep emphasis on the retail sector, grocery-anchored retail sector. And he's grown a fantastic business. And Chris, welcome to the show. I'm really happy you're here. You've got a lot of great things to share. Hopefully we could start off with just, 2 to 3 minute background of your biographical sketch so our listeners could get to know you more.
Sure. Thank you having me here today, Aaron. Really appreciate it. So again, I'm founder, managing principal of First National Realty Partners. We're a vertically integrated private equity commercial real estate operator and fintech company. Our primary asset class is necessity-based grocery-anchored shopping center. We have a national focus with a strong emphasis on secondary markets. We're looking to acquire either the number one or number two center in the market. Our company was founded by myself and my partner, Tony, in 2015. We closed on our first transaction in March of 2016, which was a 9,000 square foot mixed use building up in North Jersey that we paid over $500,000 for. At the time, we had myself and my partner, Tony, and one assistant. So we had one employee. Fast forward 6 years, and we are a fully vertically integrated CRE platform with 95 employees. We currently have a portfolio of over 7 million square feet spread out between 54 properties and a portfolio value just over $1 billion. And what's unique about our business is we sourced all of our capital exclusively from high net worth investors.
And that's a great overview. You're clearly someone who's built a very special culture at your organization, which I've read about, which we talked about at length before, which I want to get into too. But maybe to start, you give a little bit more of a background before you launched the company. Maybe give us a brief sketch, how you found yourself launching the company, how you got into it.
Sure. Before First National's founding, I was in the financial services business. So basically, I was raising money for other people's deals, both equities and private deals. I mainly focused on private deals. And it started way back in the year 2000. I was going to college, and not that I was going to some great college, but I decided to get a job at a brokerage firm. The name of the firm was Ladenburg Thalmann, and it was in Long Island, New York. So I said, I told my parents that, hey, I want to go in this field. My mother, who was an English teacher, said, absolutely not. You have to go to college. So I decided to juggle both. That worked for about 3 semesters. I passed my Series 7. So I was completely licensed and getting ready to work with the public. The first day that I was licensed, the market was, completely it crashed. It was literally right at the, I guess you'd say the beginning, or actually at the end of the tech crash that happened in the year 2000. So it was pretty tough, but needless to say, I worked my tail off. By that summertime, I was doing so well that as far as income, I was doing better than both my mother and my father. And at that time, I was 21 years old. So needless to say, the following year, I didn't go back to college. By the time I was 21 years old, I owned my own OSJ, which is like your own securities branch of a brokerage firm. And I started focusing on alternative deals. I didn't like, let's say, the equity markets for the simple fact that there was no edge. There was no ability for you to go in, take something and make it better for your own work. And I always really admired that. And, the customers that we were working for, whether it was private real estate organizations, other founders of other companies, I really always loved, how they were able to build their business, how they were able to add value, and they were really laser focused on what they were doing. Me in the financial services business, you're really just you're an order taker. You're a service provider. It made a lot of money, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I would say after 14, 15 years of having an incredible career, I made a lot of money, very rewarding, did really well. I said, you know what? We've read and been around this business for so long. We understand everything that goes into structuring these deals. Let's go out, let's get out of our comfort zone, and let's start our own private equity shop. Let's focus on real estate. We both had an incredible passion for real estate. My family, my grandfather was in real estate, and I can remember the times from when I was 7 years old, being around the table, and he would explain to me his successes in real estate, talking about how to master the English language, how to build a business, and it's really just what we wanted to do. So we literally left our career and we went and we started First National Realty Partners in 2015. We closed on our first transaction, which was a $500,000 transaction. 6 years later, we're over $1 billion.
Chris, I know you've built a fantastic team. You've really invested deeply in your organization, not just the properties, but your team is world-class. And to find star people and to build that special culture, describe how you've done it. That's one of the absolute hardest things to achieve in business.
Well, you have to be able to hire people based on competency and based on how you view the world. At the end of the day, if we have our entire organization laser focused in the same direction, we're going to be able to elevate each other's game. So, for us, at First National Realty Partners, we have the 6-step hiring process. We have the screening interview, then we have our competency interview, then we interview based on each and every single one of our core values. Now, if the candidate passes the competency and the screen and they miss one of our core values, we will not hire them. And the end result of that is that, we have right now 100 full-time employees or 95 full-time employees. It was very hard to go out and run this process, but the result is we could do the work of probably 100 people, 200 people, excuse me. We have just an incredible amount of enthusiasm. Everybody treats everything that they do like they own it. Everybody's an entrepreneur. There's an incredible amount of enthusiasm. People understand that the success that they have is going to create success for them. And we're all bought into what our overall mission is. As one of the founders of the company, there's nothing better in the world and nothing more rewarding. Forget about money, forget about fame, forget about success. Being able to know that you can rely on incredible team members to go out and fulfill a vision. And the funny thing is this, Aaron, we created such a culture that I would bet you a nickel that some of the people that work within our organization really wouldn't believe that they were capable of the success and the strides and the growth that they were able to accomplish outside of working within our organization. In other words, the system that we're following is really getting the best out of everybody, and we're just building on those successes. It's like, when they tell somebody who's, active, being active will make you become even more active. Well, the success that we're getting and the teamwork and the camaraderie is begetting more success, and we're able to do incredible things. We beat our goal last year in acquisitions by almost 70%. And the reason why we're able to do that, of course, is because of the team that we have.
Well said, and a great answer. And I know your culture is sort of a lagging indicator of your brand, or vice versa. But your brand is your culture, and your culture is your brand. And the reality is that your team has performed. You've performed to put the team together. And I know even in December, you went on a massive tear to close out the year. Maybe you could talk about some of the fundamentals. Obviously, grocery anchored, necessity-based shopping centers, as we've talked about, have performed incredibly well. It's a wonderful moment for the asset class that you're in. But somehow you continue to find deals to execute and close on. Maybe you could talk about the fundamentals generally in the market you're seeing for these types of assets, the competition on them. And, you may have the best team, but you still have a super hot market for that asset. How are you competing and getting those deals done?
It's a great question. Believe it or not, our space is a very small business. For the big players, everybody knows one another. And the most important thing is surety of close. It's not as much as price as they know that the operator that they're going to award the deal to can close. And, over the last 5 or 6 years, First National has performed incredibly well. We did and said exactly what we said we were going to do. We were a lot more nimble, and we're less of a pain to work with in comparison to some of the big institutions. So when this market started to explode, let's say over the last year, we were positioned very, very well to take advantage of that growth. But if you ask me, what does it come down to? How do you become successful? It's very, very simple. You have to source and underwrite a significant amount of deal flow. That's what it comes down to. The more deals you look at, the more opportunities you're going to have, the more home runs you're going to have. And for us, when we started the business, we learned very, very quickly that although a lot of real estate companies are hyper local and hyper focused, for what we do and what we specialize in, which is relationships, national brand tenants, people that are in a bunch of places, that we would have to spread out our geographical focus, leverage off of the law of large numbers to be able to find those incredible assets. And that's exactly what we did. And again, going back to our employees and our people, we were able to make that transition, but we were able to perform incredibly well by going national and not being hyper local. So, but again, it comes down to underwriting a significant amount of deal flow. We're a fintech company and a real estate operating company all in one. So we're using different tactics, I think, than a lot of other people are. And, it's all about sourcing the deals.
And you also talked about certainty of closing. I mean, I'm a real estate lawyer, so I've certainly seen a lot of deals blow up for hundreds of different reasons. One of the things I know you pride yourself in is your word. You get a deal under contract, you don't retrade. You get a reputation for certainty of closing when you say what you do what you say. And I think that's really borne out really well for you and your reputation, which has preceded you. So that certainty of execution, I agree with you. It's more valuable than the highest price. So that's been amazing to see as well. It's your culture, it's your tenacity, it's your special team, it's your drive, your ambition. Maybe we could talk a little about adversity. I mean, you're very, very entrepreneurial. You're doing so many deals. I know sometimes people want to hear about some of the setbacks too. You've grown fast, so it's never a perfectly smooth ride. Maybe you can talk about some of the struggles you've had as you've built the business.
Well, I think that, the biggest setback that we had, or the biggest adversity that we've seen was naturally coronavirus. I've been through the tech crash in 2000, the financial crisis in 2008. Coronavirus literally came out of nowhere. The government shut down the entire country, and we were thrust in a situation that, we weren't expecting. And our team responded incredibly well. We transitioned from a CRE team to a almost like a crisis team that would, go and rebuild a state after a huge hurricane. We were reaching out to mom and pop tenants. We were arranging PPP loans. We were doing everything that we could to make sure that we were being proactive and we were servicing our tenants, during this, tough time, and also articulating what was going on to our investors. The end result of that is we had, 2 months of tough time, but the goodwill that we garnered from our tenants was just incredible. And we're talking, the national brand tenants. It really set the stage for us to have massive growth over the last couple of years. And then as far as, other adversity, look, we're a business disruptor. The way that we're running our model is different than traditional private equity companies. And the way that we do it as a sponsor or an operator, we go and raise our own capital, we're probably 10 times larger and growing 10 times faster than our nearest competitors. So we're constantly in no man's land. We're constantly trying to figure out what the roadmap is, how to be able to do our marketing, pull in investors. There's so many different facets that work into our business that we're never 100% satisfied, and we don't feel 100% safe. I don't know how much you're focusing in on this space and how we run our niche. The market for alternatives and the way that we do our business over the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years has completely exploded. We are pretty much, let's say, at the top of the mountain or one of the biggest. Being at the top of the mountain is a temporary place. And I always try to tell our people that, the best sporting coaches. It's a great view, but eventually you're going to have to come down because there are always people that are nipping at your heels. So I always want to try to bring ourselves back down to center and figure out a way for us to go and climb that mountain, recreate ourselves. And that's really the key to success in this business. But with all that, there's adversities in all different avenues, whether it's sourcing deal flow, marketing. You just have to adapt to it. You have to leverage off your team. You have to have the trust in your team, and you have to work through the issues. And for us, we use an operating system. It's called EOS. That's the acronym for Entrepreneurial Operating System. It was created by a guy. His name is Gino Wickman. I don't know if you ever heard of him before or read the book.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, and it's also tied to another book called Traction.
Traction and Rocket Fuel. So we adopted that system. Again, we are always focused on the process, fulfilling the vision, focusing on what the biggest issues are that we have. How can we create opportunities? And we read Vern Harnish's book, which was Rockefeller Habits, and we thought it was a little cumbersome. So, we were always searching on what would be the best operating system for us to be the most efficient. we ended up going with EOS, and what can I say? It was an absolute game changer for us. We focus on our business. We have our long-term vision, let's call it 10, 15 years. We have let's say that's our ultra long-term vision. Then we have our long-term vision, which is 3 years. But most importantly, we really focus on 90 days at a time. We focus how we can change our business in the short term. We focus on the biggest issues that are plaguing us and the biggest opportunities. And by having that open forum with all of our employees and with their own division having, this meeting, it really forces everybody to get on the same page, tackle the issues, and figure out as a team, not as a singular person, but as a team, what's the best path forward. And, as I said, the results of implementing that year over year, our growth as an organization has, been 50 to 100% plus each and every year.
I love it. And I've read that book, Traction, too, a couple of times. It's amazing. And the book you might like is the 12-week work year. It seems like you're doing a lot of that stuff already. If you haven't read it, I'll send it to you. But it's really amazing to hear from the inside out how you're organizing the troops and executing. Now, you're managing a lot and you're dealing with a lot of stress. It's obviously a lot of good stuff going on, but how do you find that balance? Are you doing anything on the personal side to balance your mind together with all this massive action you're taking?
Sure. So I love being out in nature. I love hanging out with my family. I have a beautiful family, two beautiful daughters. I enjoy fishing. I'm blessed to live very close to the water, and I have a boat. I go out fishing in my free time, and of course, nothing better than sourcing off-market deals in your free time as well. But what's funny is this: when you have an incredible team and you have an incredible trust in your team, and of course we have stress day in and day out, it's very, very manageable. I was a lot more stressed 15 years ago when I didn't understand what exactly my vision was. Now we understand exactly what we're going to do. You de-risk your stress, or you limit your stress by putting the work in up front. So our trust in our team's ability to put in the work up front, to measure 10 times, cut once, underwrite the deals properly, line up all the financing, have all the meetings, all the tenants that we have, and really do it all in unison really alleviates the stress. I know that when we're getting a deal on the contract, barring an act of God or an underground oil well that nobody ever knew about, we're going to 100% close on the property because our strike force went out. Our underwriting team had accomplished all of the due diligence. Our loan originator looked at everything, and we measured 10 times the cut once. So the stress that I have now is not even comparison to the stress that I had years ago, and the responsibilities that I have, and that the organization has is significantly larger than we were. But again, the team makes everything easier.
It's amazing. It's a really great story, Chris. I mean, I could tell this stuff runs in your blood and you're executing. And I love the way you're adopting EOS and your team is aligned. You're buying great assets. I think, how many deals did you close in December, just for the record?
I think that we closed 171 million in transactions. And I want to say that might've been spread out between 8 or 9 deals.
In December, right?
In December, yes.
I
try not to focus on the numbers. I don't focus on the money. I focus on the process. I focus on the vision. I focus on the people. If you focus on those 3, and most importantly, the why, everything else will fall into place. The money, the success, you being successful as an organization will be a byproduct of you having all of those set up correctly.
Chris, I could not agree with you more. And so many people think, chase dollars, chase this number, chase this. But it's truly about becoming the person and or the organization that attracts it to you and is capable and appropriate to be in that position you've created. So I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add. If you were to sit down with somebody, I know you advise a lot of people in the commercial real estate industry, say somebody gets on your calendar for coffee, wants to break into commercial real estate, specifically your niche in the industry. What are you telling them?
Well, I would say this, and this would be for anybody in any business, any entrepreneur that was looking to be successful. I would say this: you're capable of doing things that you never could imagine. Stay true to yourself, do what you love, always ask for help, be good to people, Focus on the vision, the process, the people, and the why, and make sure that your business is a win-win model for everybody. If you do that, you can scale and work in any business you want.
Very, very true. Well, Chris, that's a wrap. I really want to thank you again so much for being a guest on the podcast. It was a lot of fun. I think everyone will learn a lot, and looking forward to speaking again real soon.
Aaron, it was a pleasure. I've listened to all your other previous podcasts. They're incredible. Keep up the great work, and I look to speak with you in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the Dealmaker's Edge. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us a 5-star rating so more people can follow the conversation.